resources, meaning my command staff,
Right.
that can answer specific questions to budget and any issues that you might have on policy. If I can't, I'm trying to make your time worthwhile. And so that's what I'm attempting to do with you right now.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get going.
I'd like to just start this off by saying that I'm a candidate for Park City Council, meeting here with Chief Wade Carpenter, Rob McKinney, and purpose of this meeting is really to get a better understanding of leadership within the police department, some of the challenges that are currently facing law enforcement, some of the initiatives that you have moving forward, and I have some very specific questions. I'm going to be very much on point. Can we do a time check? What time do we need to break?
Certainly. We need to stop at 1:45.
Okay, cool. So we have approximately 55 minutes. If at some point answers run on long, let's all try to housekeep
Okay,
one
45.
another. Okay, yeah. So let's try to
We
housekeep.
have actually another meeting coming up. So.
Yeah, with DCFS. So we're going to dig into that. So with regards to today's meeting, I'd appreciate if you'd be cooperative.
Absolutely.
And we don't have any animosity here. I don't have any animosity here. I seem a little keyed up, but we'll try and work.
I'm good.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Happy to work with you.
So, wait, could you tell me a little bit about yourself? Just a brief history, a bio, what you kind of do, just the Cliff Notes version.
32 years in law enforcement. I've been a chief executive for 25 of that. I have worked on both federal task forces. I'm also assigned to the International Association of Chiefs of Police. The International Association of Chiefs of Police, I serve as the third vice president in that capacity. It has 32,000 members in 167 countries. It's the world's largest policy-driven law enforcement executive board that helps create best practices. I oversee patrol tactical operations, firearms committee, and arson and explosives. And I have an extensive background in all those areas.
Excellent.
How about yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I'm a native New Yorker, relocated to Southern California about 20-something years ago. I spent the last 25 years visiting Park City and absolutely fell in love with it. Wonderful town. It was really just the traffic, the taxes, and kind of, we see mass exodus here from California, especially in recent years, right? So we're all seeking sort of a better life, right? And the quality of life here appeared to be much better. That very quickly changed on me. I'm not going to go into it, but I had my initial negative experiences was with, shortly after I moved here, my son started school, played on the Park City football team, made a lot of new friends, and subsequently was accused of distribution of child pornography by Trent Jarman and Emily Sutherland, who are both no longer with, for under very auspicious circumstances, have both left.
Actually, Trent Jarman retired after 23 years of service.
Everybody retires in your department. Nobody leaves other than retirement. Are you a Park City resident, Wade?
Actually, my family is from this area.
I'm sorry. Are you a Park City resident, Wade? Yes or no? No, you live on the 1200 block in Hoover City, right? Yeah, right. Okay, so you're not. I'm not going to be looking for your vote.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, cool. Have you lived in Park City before?
Yes, I have.
When was the last
11
time?
years.
And when
So
the last time you lived
here?
here?
I moved 3 years ago. I don't know the exact date.
Okay. Not like Park City anymore? Or
No, I loved Park City. The issue was I had people stopping by my house pretty much 24/7.
Yeah.
I lived on Park Avenue for several years.
Yeah.
And I lived in the Pine Brook area for many, many years. And literally would have domestic fights and those type of things, end up in the front porch.
Yeah.
I actually, at one point in time, had a woman drop off drugs she found in her son's room and
Yeah.
left him on my front porch.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little about that
So,
too.
okay.
Can you describe PAIR to me and some meaningful examples of how PAIR has positively impacted the residents of Park City?
So, let me give you the
So if you
background.
could define the acronym and
Okay.
do that.
The PAIR acronym actually would be interesting. I think you might find it interesting. Both of these two worked on the committee that created the PAIR project.
But you've been a lieutenant for what, 4 months?
Yeah, roughly.
So I think it'd be appropriate to have them explain what they think it is.
Well, you
Go ahead.
designed it.
Yeah, in 2015, the department wanted to change the mission statement and come up with core vision and values. So we had a committee built up of frontline officers and civilian staff. And we met together, probably for 4 to 6 months.
About 6, yeah.
And there was a member of our human resources there just kind of facilitating it. But we came up with the acronym PAIR: professionalism, accountability, integrity, and respect.
Had to look at the sheet for that one, huh?
Go ahead and continue.
And the mission statement as well. And we wanted to reflect what we thought best represented the department. So,
okay. So let me read what I saw on the website, 'cause I'm not sure that you covered all that. Vision statement is the park. I see on your statement on the Park City Police website is the Park City Police Department will pair, which is an acronym, with our community to preserve their constitutional rights, enforce the laws, keep the peace, and create a safe place to live, work, and play. Okay? So the components of that are professionalism, accountability, integrity, and respect. How do you guys feel you're doing on that?
Doing a great job.
So you're good on constitutional rights,
Absolutely.
No constitutional rights violations under your watch?
Nothing that has
Ever?
been, no, not that I'm aware of.
As a police chief for so long, there's never been
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Any
In fact, if
integrity
you'll-
issues?
Not that, no, none.
None.
In fact,
And
you
by the way-
can look at my record. In fact, I happen to also serve as the post council chairman.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. We're going to get into
And
that.
the state SIAC
Right.
chairman as well.
I'm aware of that. We're going to get into that. So just let's not steal the thunder. So,
Mike,
as
do you
a-
want to answer your questions? If you want an answer.
Yeah, no.
So if this is relevant to your candidacy,
is, yeah.
I would love to answer your questions.
Yeah.
If this is
If you're
something
uncomfortable
other
with the
than
questions,
that,
just
no,
let me know,
absolutely,
and
no,
I'll move
no.
on.
I feel that with you, you act as if this is an inquisition, and so
it's not an
if-
inquisition.
okay.
I'm trying to gain an
Okay, go
understanding
ahead,
of
move forward
police
then.
policies in Park City.
Please.
With what I feel to be is a department desperately in need of reform, and I will expand on
Well,
that if you
please,
like.
please, whatever. If this is your
Whatever.
time,
It's
this is
a
your
rather
time.
flippant answer,
If
but
you
I'm
want
trying to
to-
keep this civil. But you know.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you. So, I want to repeat the last portion of that question. Can you cite some meaningful examples of how PAIR has positively impacted the Park City community?
Yes. So let me tell you how this came about. When I came to Park City, essentially the tail was wagging the dog, meaning that the officers were running day-to-day operations, and there wasn't accountability to the level that I felt it needed to be. And so I sat down and met with every officer individually and asked them what the key priorities were for the community. And I kind of created a basis or a guideline. It had to have a nexus to the community, what benefited the community the most, what the issues were, pro and con, and then they had to come with solutions to the table versus them bringing problems to the chief and demanding that there be change, that they had to help encompass those changes. And then, as just Lieutenant McKinney did, it's not real leadership, and I don't know what your leadership background is, but real leadership requires ownership from your officers, your command, and so they were very involved in that process and helped create something that they believe in. And so since that time, we've enacted all of those aspects of PAIR, and it wasn't me as the police chief saying this is what you're going to come up with. It was the group came back and said this is what we feel is versus a mission statement that is large and ambiguous. It's something that we believe in, and so it holds the officers accountable.
So you feel you hold the accountable?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you feel that you've mentioned earlier that you are? Let me just run this down. Some I'm going to speculate on, or I'm going to go.
Don't speculate.
I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to go on
Please
basis
don't.
of knowledge. Okay, so
Accurate information would be best.
please
Go
don't
ahead.
interrupt me.
Go ahead.
So you are the chief of Park City Police. You are the de facto leader of the Internal Affairs Group, right?
No.
No? That's
Separate.
separate from you.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the Internal
I-
Affairs Division does not report to you.
The Internal Affairs Division essentially at the end of the day brings the complaint forward,
Not-
and then they have a complaint review committee,
Which you're part of.
which no, I'm not a voting member of. I sit on that board to answer questions.
Okay, so you are on the board of the Internal Affairs.
No, not of the Internal Affairs, the Citizen Complaint Review Board. They're very different.
So, if a citizen were to bring...
So don't take it out of context.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to understand it. I'm not taking anything. I'm going to ask clarifying questions.
Please do.
So, you're the chief of Park City Police. You are a part of the group that handles or considers citizen complaints if they're unresolved with Internal Affairs. Is that fair to say?
So if there's a complaint that is unresolved, there's a process for that. And what happens, if we get a basic complaint that comes in day to day, you get a complaint against an officer, that would go to a supervisor, a patrol sergeant typically. They would review that complaint. They would determine whether they can come up with an agreeable solution with the individual that's the complainant.
Right.
From that point, that information is processed. Either it's they said, yeah, I feel good with the outcome, or they don't. If they don't, there's a process, as you're well aware of, that you can make a complaint you can basically spool it up.
Right.
You can appeal that.
Okay.
It then goes to a lieutenant that would review that information. Lieutenant Darwin Little would then review that information and make a determination if all of the policies are followed, if it's factual, if there's additional investigation that needs to be done. At one point, that information is kicked to Captain Phil Kirk, who also reviews that prior to me seeing it. I don't even see the initial complaint. Let me finish. I don't even get an opportunity to see the initial complaint until it's gone through all those layers. Once it's gone through all those layers of the complaint review process, at that time, if the individual does not feel that they have an adequate answer, they can bring it to the Citizens Complaint Review Board,
which you serve on.
I do. I don't serve. I actually sit on that
to
give. I give direction with the legal department, and all I do is essentially answer questions if they have questions on policy specific to what the incidents were, what the complaint is, so that it's not vague and ambiguous.
Okay, we're getting into semantics here. Are you part of that? Are you part of the citizens review process in some way, shape, or form?
I sit on. I do not make the ultimate decision.
Right.
At the
I'll
end of the
take that
day,
as a yes, and we can move on.
Okay, moving forward.
And we also have a liaison from City Council.
Yes, you do.
Right. All people who have interests in the city and are part of the city.
We also have citizens. We also.
Yeah, right. But I understand the makeup, but you don't have to go through that.
Okay.
We're good with
I'd be
that.
happy to lay the makeup.
Nope, I'm
Okay.
intimately familiar with all that.
All right.
What are some concerns that you have about policing on both a local and national level?
Well, as you're well aware, today it's very divisive. A lot of times, some of the issues that are going on with a lot of the rhetoric in communities, things are really spooling up, and so we have to constantly be aware. If you'll go,
Could you expand on that?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
say
please.
you're being
Please,
the general terms more.
Please go to the training aspects of this,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about this. Some of the issues that we're dealing with, and I think it's very important to recognize, is our community outreach efforts, because everybody is we can spend hours on the national agenda.
Right,
which
yeah, no,
It
of
doesn't
course.
do any of us.
No,
any
I understand.
good.
This
So
is more of a local
want-
level. I was just wanted to.
So I think it's
we're going
important that you understand what we're doing locally as a police department to help with some of these initiatives. We started a community outreach citizens academy in both English and Spanish. We also have a social equity committee and have created initiatives to support the community. Additionally, we have community-oriented policing projects that are various. They also fall under this. We have community technical specialists that review body cam footage. Constantly, they're going through that body cam footage to see if there's any issues or concerns that we need to address. And then if there are, then we take the appropriate actions. One of the biggest problems in law enforcement today is hiring and retention of police officers, quality officers, officers that are actually have the ability to serve in that capacity. And so we're very, very picky of who we select for that, and we have an extensive process that we go through for hiring. From that, we also have an HOA outreach program. We have a Latino Arts Festival participation program. We have a community we involved during the COVID-19 epidemic. We had a personal protective equipment distribution that our officers were involved in. We have a program at the schools where you have a son at the schools. You had a appreciate this, called the School Watchdog Program.
Do I have a sign
where
up
fathers
for
are, where father, sorry,
Do I have a sign at Park City Schools?
I thought you did. Am I wrong?
You've done more investigations
Anyway,
into me.
Anyway,
than
so
I
so
could
anyway, the
possibly
School
imagine.
Watchdog Program. I just know from when Jack spoke to me and told me he went there, so I thought that was accurate information. The School Watchdog Program, which is comprised of fathers that are trying to be involved in young people's lives to help with reading programs. Additionally, we have the Shop with a Cop program that helps us deal with these young people that are underprivileged. Additionally, we have a robust social media program, and we also have a victims advocate program. Some of our accomplishments that we've created over the last several years are accreditation through the Utah Chiefs of Police Association. The Utah Chiefs of Police Association has requirements through our insurance company to make sure that we are in best practices, meaning that our policies are up to date. We use the Lexipol program that is nationally tried and tested. The Lexipol program is constantly being evaluated. As you know, policies are a living document. These documents are continually changing, and so we need to stay on top of those. They have the most recent Supreme Court rulings on those and are adapted as case law changes.
Okay, good. No, that's great. That covered that one. Sort of following on that topic, in the past few years, and this is not, we can, not necessarily on a national level, but on a local level, public perception of police has declined to an all-time low. I'll give you some anecdotal. A quick Google search of Park City Police Department reviews on Google review 1,024 reviews and an abysmal 1-star rating. To what do you attribute the negative perception of your police department? It's about a 10 to 11% approval rate.
So we're very aware that social media can be manipulated, as you are. And you recognize, I'm sure you
Please
are.
put the words in my
And
mouth.
so, anyway, I'm just saying that social media can be manipulated, as can through electronic apps. In fact,
like bots?
Yeah, through bots. Absolutely.
bots?
Absolutely.
Russian?
In fact, that's actually a real thing that actually goes on regularly. And so, a lot of times, what we're seeing in the media and on social media is not accurate information.
So you're not taking any responsibility whatsoever for any negative
No, I'm
reviews
not
of
saying
your
that.
department.
No,
So,
absolutely
could
not.
you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I
finish?
Yeah.
We have a community outreach program that we respond to all complaints.
Mhm.
And we also have a website that you've used multiple times, and we respond to those complaints as well. When we have a complaint, either myself or a command staff member will reach out to those individuals, and we try to cover those complaints best we can and try to come to a peaceful resolution.
Okay, so you're saying you do accept some responsibility
absolutely.
for the negative
We
perception
always,
of your department?
we always have to accept responsibility. I don't believe that it's accurate, but I do think that when we do
So
have a problem, can I finish? When we do have a problem, we obviously look into that and take it very seriously.
From those people that live within Park City limits, and I would say the broader area, we have pretty broad support from the community.
In fact, the group that meets,
I only look at what I see. Right? I see what's in print, what's in the public domain. There's no one singing your praises on social media. There's no one singing your praises in the paper. It's mostly self-push propaganda, right? From the papers that are friendly to you. And listen, let's all get this on the table here. Park City, and I say this as a candidate, I would argue that one of our most valuable commodities as a community is our optics, right? Park City is viewed internationally as a destination, as a lovely place with friendly people, with wonderful activities, right? And the city, I would submit to you, works very hard. City and the police department work very hard to protect the optics of the department and of the city, right? Because if we're seen as a community that has substantive issues, it will affect the bottom line, which is tourism, right? So my point here is that you have all done a wonderful job of covering up through the years of anything that might impact the public perception, and the local press follows you. Social media completely disagrees with you, and as our former president, our 45th president did, he chose to not engage with the traditional media because he felt that there was an inherent bias in the media, and he went directly to social media and was hugely impactful. Okay, so I just want to illustrate an example of, I think, the filter of the media can be horrible, right? Both towards police, towards whatever, but you and the city has both publications firmly on your side. So congratulations for you. What are your thoughts on the defund the police movement sweeping the nation?
I think it is very short-sighted. It's interesting. If you look at the police departments that have defunded throughout the country, they're
Horrible.
They're all in
Crime
chaos.
rate.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We both agree on that. That's
I couldn't.
interesting.
Thank you, sir. I couldn't agree with you more. I am absolutely pro-police, pro-good police. Right? We all understand that there are bad cops. Was that safe to say?
And I think
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. We agree on that.
And you know what? I don't want to. I don't want to delve into my own personal situation. It's one of the main reasons I'm running. You know, because I had been so terrorized, as had my 15-year-old son, by your officers. Not you. I hope no ill will towards you or you. You know, I'm here. I felt like I was a normal citizen that had just living his life in a beautiful city, and from almost day one, I was harassed by the Park City Police. And I have full accounts and recordings, and there's tons of video on it, right, on my YouTube site. But I am absolutely against the defund the police movement. I think there are communities that need to be policed. Personally, I've never called a cop in my life. I provide for my own security. I believe that cops are minutes away when seconds count. But I do agree that communities need policing, and the defund the police movement is absolutely wrong. So I'll go on record with that. Let's talk about qualified immunity. Okay. In the United States House of
We're talking about absolute immunity or qualified immunity.
We're talking about
because they're different. I don't know if you understand the difference.
Wade, you know that I understand the law, right?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same topic,
Right.
because there's two portions
Right.
of that.
If I need some clarification, I'll
Okay.
let you know. Okay. So let's talk about qualified immunity. The United States House of Representatives Bill 1280, which is referred to as the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, was approved by the House in March of 2020, approving a bill removing all qualified immunity for police. Now, that obviously that has to go.
That's in the 217th Congress currently. Right now, it does not pass.
Okay. So
Just for clarification.
okay, it's right. So the if I stand corrected, I'll accept that. Colorado, New Mexico, Maryland, Oregon, NYPD have all taken some steps to abolish qualified immunity for police. Some have passed, some have not passed. A Cato Institute survey from last year shows that about 70% of Americans approve the removal of qualified immunity. I'd be happy to email that article for you if you'd like, or show it to you.
And who was the resource again?
Cato Institute.
So it basically depends on, as you know, data is based on whoever does the study.
Garbage in, garbage out.
So right, correct.
Sorry.
So you're making a statement, or are you asking a question?
It's leading to a question. I'm doing the questioning here, okay?
All right. Good.
Can you please share your thoughts on the topic of qualified immunity?
Absolutely. Qualified immunity absolutely will destroy law enforcement internally. Absolutely. What people don't understand is officers.
You're saying the
have
removal of qualified immunity?
Meaning that if you impose qualified immunity, you do not allow officers qualified immunity, the protections granted to them currently under the Constitution, under the law.
Is that a constitution?
Well, sorry, not
That's
the Constitution, under the law. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's currently is
not a
the law.
constitutional
Yeah,
law.
yeah, it's Graham versus Connors, so that's part of it. So
It's not constitutional.
so I didn't. So as
You're
you
correcting me, I'm
right?
correcting you.
Absolutely. So if that were to be removed, you would see exactly what you're seeing in these states that are falling apart, just as defunding. If you look at the states you cited, Michigan, a lot of these others.
I didn't cite Michigan.
Well, I didn't. So I'm telling you, in the states that have imposed partial qualified immunity, they have had a huge influx in law enforcement. In fact, they've lost the majority of
You
the
mean
law enforcement.
exodus?
Exodus.
You said
correct.
influx.
Yeah,
Influx
and
means coming in, exodus means
correct.
going out.
Correct.
Okay. So
Exodus.
right. So if if I understand this correctly, you're saying that absolutely we need to maintain qualified immunity for officers,
We need
no
those
questions,
protections,
and that
and
if that were
absolute
to,
immunity. So, actually, and it's important because you're
I'll
going
let
to
you
be
speak.
because you're going to be running for council, and this is important to you.
I am
So,
running for
okay,
council.
you are running. If you were elected, absolute immunity, if that were removed, you would have no protections. If you were acting in good faith as a council member and made a mistake, heaven forbid,
Yeah.
you would have zero protections. Do you
Yeah.
understand that?
Oh,
So that's the
yeah.
same situation as law enforcement when they're acting in good faith,
Right.
and they're covered by state law.
Right.
They're not grossly deviating. Let me finish. They're not grossly deviating in their job performance, because right now, if a law enforcement officer grossly deviates and is criminal in nature, or they create a criminal intent, they can still be held accountable. That's what people don't understand. This thing has been skewed, and the information is not accurate.
What do you say this thing?
Meaning qualified immunity. Those that are pushing the removal of qualified immunity. It's biased.
So, let me just summarize this, and we can move on. So, what I hear you saying is that qualified immunity is absolutely necessary. That if we were to remove qualified immunity from police officers, in this case, I'm talking specifically about police,
Right.
not city council members, right? That police would suffer a mass exodus,
Correct.
and it would impact the profession.
Absolutely.
Negative.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And protections to the community.
Protections to the. Oh, you're saying qualified immunity protects the community or officers? Because I think it
No,
protects officers.
what I'm saying is, if we have a mass exodus and there aren't qualified law enforcement officers to fill those
Right.
positions, it will impact public protection.
Okay.
I promise you.
Okay, got it. Again, that's why we all have the right to
Absolutely.
provide for our own security, right?
Absolutely.
Can you cite any examples of Park City Police Department using qualified immunity to defend officers accused of constitutional rights violations?
Do you have something specific? I don't.
It was a question.
No, I don't.
So you don't have. You're saying.
You're saying, well, other than
I'll
just
repeat
the
the question
general,
if you
just yeah, please do, because it's.
Can you cite any examples of Park City Police Department, or let's say the city of Park City, using a qualified immunity to
Protection.
to defend? Hold on,
Okay.
officers that are accused of constitutional rights violations. So vis-a-vis a
Meaning they're-
1983 type
Meaning,
case.
oh yeah, officers are at times are accused of things unrightfully, and
Your
so,
officers.
So any officers.
No, I'm not
officers
talking
in
general.
state-
I'm talking about Park
we've
City
we've
Police
had-
Department.
Yes, we've had.
So
that.
you have used
I'd
qualified immunity.
I would have to
defense.
look. Well,
Ainsworth. That's an example.
so yeah, we've had
You,
this. Yes.
the kid was
and,
killed.
yeah, he was
and you were-
unsuccessful. Correct.
Right. So
Right, he
you
was unsuccessful.
successfully defended police
Correct,
officers
absolutely.
that were accused of malfeasance in the responsibility in the death of a child.
And yes, and Mr. Ainsworth lost that case.
I understand that. You're proud
Yes.
of that?
Well,
Because I know
just
you
think-
have an award in your
No,
were given to the officers that were involved in that sitting in the trophy case in your
I'm unaware
lobby.
of that.
We can go look at it. I'll put
Okay.
I'll do a video on it.
All right.
Yeah. So, by the way, speaking of your lobby, about a year and a half ago, I was in your lobby and I noticed a blue line flag, which I
Yes,
sent.
you brought that to our attention.
I brought that to your attention.
Absolutely.
That is now removed. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, because you complained on it and asked us to remove it, and said that you viewed it as being, I think, a flag of tyranny or something to that effect. I don't remember it exactly. Obviously, we view that very differently in law enforcement.
Sure, of course.
We use it for the fallen officer memorials. Law enforcement around the country, nationally and internationally, have used that as a symbol of solidarity and that of fallen officers that have died in the line of duty, protecting their communities.
Yeah.
You have a very different view on that, and I can appreciate that.
Well,
and so, as a police department that tries to be responsive, we actually replace that with a nice picture of the barn and the American flag.
Love it. It's wonderful.
So,
yeah, no, I congratulate you
and
for
thank
that,
you
and
for
I
that.
thank you
Appreciate it.
Thank you for acting on my request. I do
Absolutely.
view it not only as a violation of U.S. flag code, right? It is not prevalent on any of your uniforms, is it?
No, sir.
You're wearing a bracelet, but the blue's worn out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, this was from a,
Right.
a fellow officer that died in the line of duty.
Right,
It was
yeah.
presented to me at the
No, I
National
know. I've lost
Memorial.
lost a lot of
Yeah,
good
okay.
friends.
All right.
It's just a shame. So anyway, enough on that. Can you describe for me what the Brady Giglio list
Yes.
is?
Brady Giglio list is a list that Defense Counsel has come up with to identify officers. Typically, that's the Brady Giglio list. It has been
It's
actually
a
that's
law,
where it
right?
came from. No, Brady Giglio is a law that says that if an officer lies on or is found to be untruthful, that information needs to be shared. You said a list. You said the Brady
Okay.
Giglio list. So I'm trying
Pardon
to
me.
be
Yeah.
okay. So I'm answering your question based on what you asked me. That's the list. Brady Giglio is actually is if an officer is found to be untruthful in testimony or anything like that, that has to be disclosed during a trial,
So that would,
and it's a good thing.
okay. So that would
It's a great
potentially
thing.
taint an officer.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. In fact, officers are regularly decertified for dishonesty.
Right. And speaking, let's go off on that. Let's follow that one a little bit. When you say decertified, right? In addition, you mentioned this previously, and I am aware of this. You are involved in the complaint process in some form.
I was
we've already
appointed by the last two governors
Right.
to the post council
Right, I know.
as the
Oh,
chairman.
I wasn't mentioning that, so if you
Okay.
let me finish my
Please.
thought. On a local level, you have some involvement in the post internal affairs appeal process. You weigh in some of it. We've already established
They're
what it
essentially
is.
a trial, is what it is.
Yeah, so we've covered that extensively. We don't need to whip that horse to death, right? You also serve as the chairman of the Post Council, and Post, I'm going to describe what I understand it to be its mission statement. Post is an acronym for Police Officer Standards and Training. And when officers are accused of malfeasance, right, not only do they issue police credentials,
Or
in other words, your
misfeasance, yeah.
badge, but if there is malfeasance by an officer, criminal activity, DUI, whatever it might be, Post is where they are sometimes hauled off to be rendered punishment, to have their credentials suspended, etc. Is that fair to
Yes,
say?
Yeah, there's sanctions.
Right. Okay.
In fact,
And-
it's interesting because law enforcement is the only career that actually holds their physicians, medical doctors, teachers, other legal practitioners do not hold quarterly decertifications and accountability for their officers. The state of Utah does that every quarter. We take it very seriously.
So you're
Make
saying
sure that we're saying that
you're saying you're
our
more
state-
accountable than the medical
we're-
profession
absolutely.
and the
Absolutely.
teachers profession.
I'm saying that at that level, holding our officers accountable 100%, we do that every quarter.
I'm sure teachers and doctors would be interested in responding.
So I'm
to
not
that.
saying that they're not.
No,
holding them
I'll throw it
accountable.
out to the teachers and doctors in the community,
Feel
and
free
we
to.
can
That's
talk
fine.
about it.
I'm not. I'm
Cool.
saying that we have a formalized
Understood.
process.
Got it.
Let me finish. A formalized process quarterly. Those professions do not. That's what I said.
So, do you have any Brady Giglio officers in your department?
We do not.
You do not.
We do
Have
not.
you ever?
At this agency?
At your agency,
Not at
Park City Police?
Probably prior to part of my administration.
So Jaime Rodriguez was not on the Brady Giglio list
he
because
was
I
not.
have.
Not that I'm aware of.
He is, and I'll provide you with
not
the
that I'm aware of.
documentation.
From our agency when he was employed with us.
Yes, 100%. I have the documents.
Okay, I have not seen that.
Okay, I'll share that with
I've
you,
never seen
and
that.
I'll put it in the YouTube video
Okay.
for the.
And I don't know what that is. As I said, Defense Counsel has their own list, but that may or may not. I know
you have a list, right?
we have
You maintain a Brady list.
An internal affairs list of all of our
Right.
internal affairs actions.
Yeah, if we found
Yeah.
somebody to be untruthful, we would provide it to the
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
prosecutor,
We'd provide
and
it to
then-
Defense
in-
Counsel. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going semantics here. You have a list of cops that have had issues in the past.
No,
No, I mean, we
don't.
have a
So
list
so
of
if cops
internal
make
affairs.
mistakes,
So
you don't document
no,
it?
we do document it. Quick.
We don't have a specific list that says
So
these
what we
people
say, if
have
there
done
are issues and we give all of the information to the county attorney's office.
Mhm.
If an officer is testifying, they are required to disclose they are a Brady
Brady
officer.
Giglio. So, in the event a Park City police officer were to be brought before the post committee, do you recuse yourself?
Absolutely. If it was one of my officers.
Yeah, if it was one of your officers.
Absolutely.
So you have in the past.
100%.
You've
I've never had one of my officers come before post council.
Well, I did, but you shut it down. I brought one before, and you shut it down.
You didn't bring it to me.
Sure did.
If you brought it to post, then that would have gone to the director of post, not me. I don't have any.
Who you're friendly
I have
with, right?
no internal
Scott.
influence.
Scott?
Scott Stevenson is the
Right.
director. of
Are you
post.
friendly with Scott?
I've known him several years, yes. Do we have differences of opinion at times? Yes.
I didn't ask that question. I'm going to go back a little bit, and I know I'm going to make sure. 9:45 is the cutoff?
That's the cutoff.
Everybody good? Need a
Good.
restroom break, or any questions for me before we move on?
Keep moving.
Copy that. So I'm going to go back a little bit. In April of 2013, Park Record reporter Jay Hamburger interviewed you. And this is a quote. I can show you the article if you'd like to see it.
Yeah. He's interviewing me.
Okay. Tell me if you disagree with this, and if not, I'll show you the article, how
That's
it was
fine.
published if you're taken out of context. I understand I'm often taken out of context. Referring to Wade Carpenter, quote, he said that he opposes do you support, sorry, let me start this off. Do you support the Second Amendment of the United States
Absolutely.
Constitution? You do.
Right to bear arms, absolutely.
Right. Do you feel it's an absolute right, or is there sort of exceptions or things
Exceptions
that
in
you
the
feel need to
sense
be
that,
modified?
yeah, so yes, if somebody has a criminal offense and they
Well,
can't,
that's
they
built
can't
into it.
legally, okay.
That's built
But
into
yeah,
it.
so, yeah, go ahead with your question.
But that is built into the right. There's
Correct.
background
yeah,
checks.
background check,
right.
yes, correct,
So,
absolutely.
do you feel that process is working
Yes,
appropriately in the
I do.
United States?
Well, for the most part. There's always issues.
Right. So, see, this is why it confuses. I'm going to tell you why this seems inconsistent. April of 2013, Park Record reporter quoted you as saying, he, meaning Wade Carpenter, said he opposes the idea of allowing people to openly carry guns based on the fact that they are not required to undergo a background check and complete a class as people who hold permits to carry a concealed weapon must do. So are you against open carry?
So let me explain that. So I also work on the Law Enforcement Legislative Committee, and there's a lot of bills that are passed that I have opposition to in the sense that they're unsafe. Do I think that there should be mandatory training for people to carry openly? Absolutely, I do.
Well, I'm an NRA
as do I.
instructor, so,
You keep telling me that. So
No, I didn't say that once today.
Okay, but you have.
Did I say that?
You
Because
have
we can go
previously.
back on the
You have
camera.
previously. Let's move forward. Do you want an answer to your question, sir?
Yes, you don't have to be so hostile.
So anyway.
Hostility is just emanating.
So anyway, can I finish?
Please.
So if what that bill was about was open carrying in parks and other locations, as I recall, and I had a concern with that. I have a concern with somebody strapping an AR walking down the middle of the street.
That's illegal.
No, it's legal now.
No,
Open
if
carry.
you're-
Open carry. You can carry a weapon openly anywhere in the public.
Utah law dictates that it must that an open rifle must be sheathed.
You can carry it openly.
It's not
There's
an open carry. That's
well,
not-
so
but we can
anyway,
debate
we can
it
get
anyway.
into semantics. The point being is that I had concerns with how that bill was written, and that was what his question was, as I recall. This was 2013,
Right.
many years ago, and so we're constantly looking at poorly drafted bills that need refinement. We did the same thing this year. There were many bills on and that one of the issues I pushed for is mandatory education for concealed carry.
But
I
that's
feel
gone
that's
away.
very important. I
Right.
feel it's important.
I agree with you.
And
100%.
we have a lot of people that want to carry concealed and open that have never fired a weapon. And in the state of Utah, you do not even have to punch paper with a weapon. And so if Utah wants to be taken seriously as a state reciprocity open carry or concealed carry state, they need to do some due diligence and make sure that the individuals carrying those weapons have gone through some kind of training so that they understand what risks they're putting themselves and the public in. Does that answer your question, sir?
It actually not only answers my question, it makes sense, but just to categorize it, you appear to be in complete opposition to Utah state law as it relates to the Second Amendment, both open and concealed carry. You disagree with the. So let me boil that down. Hold on a second. Let me finish.
Okay,
Let me
please
boil
do.
that down. Okay.
Okay.
You're saying you have an issue with current open carry law. You're saying
I do.
that the state law, which allows someone to
Right.
permitlessly open carry, constitutional carry,
Right.
which is an absolute Second Amendment
Right.
right. Okay. You're saying that you have an issue with
And
that.
I'm
You
talking
feel-
more as it pertains to rifles and those type of
No.
things.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
that's fine.
pistols. So pistols
That's
you
less
don't need
so.
training.
When I'm not saying training, you're changing. You're
Okay.
here or getting semantics with you.
Okay, I'm just trying to nail
let's
you
just
down
stick-
on this.
let's just stick
Okay,
to it. I'll
so
be
let's
happy
let me.
to.
I'm going to just make this. I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to move on. You appear to be.
My question's been asked and answered. If you want to refine it, I'd be happy to answer it.
No, that's fine. I'll take that. You went on to say someone having a concealed weapon. Well, that doesn't matter because openly carrying a gun creates alarm.
Yes, it does.
So you believe that anybody, is it just in Park City or anybody anywhere in the state of Utah?
No, this was
creates
specific
alarm?
as it pertained to carrying openly in parks. This was the conversation. As I recall,
Yeah, no, it's
in
some
the
time ago.
legislative
Yeah.
session, we were talking about people carrying openly. The sheriffs were on one side, and the police chiefs and cities were on another, saying, "Hey,
All?
we have many."
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Many. No, not all.
Every police chief
No,
in the state.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I'm a very pro gun rights person.
Mhm.
Also, I think there needs to be a commonsensical approach to how this goes about it. Meaning that there's
Common
if
sense.
you're an NRA instructor, you clearly understand the importance that not just anybody can accurately shoot in a crowd. They may not understand all of the
Absolutely.
issues that may come
Yeah.
about. If they perceive threat,
Right.
they may pull a weapon out and they think they can accurately shoot across this parking lot and not hit somebody accidentally. That's a concern of mine. Public health, safety, and welfare is my job as a police chief.
Yeah, I know, totally understood. It's interesting because he seems to be somewhat of a conservative guy, but
I am.
yet you
I am.
you have some significant.
Well,
you seem to.
I try to use, like I said, common
common sense
Yeah,
conservatism, right?
absolutely.
You know, and I know you're a community-minded guy. We've talked
Right.
about the programs that you've
Right.
offered. You're doing your best for the community. It's not you have sort of less than conservative sort of agenda items. You know, in terms of social equity, those are typically associated with the left, right? But you appear to be a compassionate conservative, right?
I am.
Is that fair to say?
Yes,
yeah,
that's
which
fair to say.
I am
Absolutely,
too.
I am.
I believe myself. to
Do
be in
I
that
don't
same
put
category.
myself in a box, Michael.
Yeah, no, neither do I.
I feel like I can make a decision. I don't
Mhm.
have to follow a party line, and I
Absolutely.
often vary from what
Right.
the quote unquote party line.
Yeah. So let's get off this. We're spending
Okay.
time on
I
it.
mean, you can look at libertarians right now in the
Yeah.
ACLU, and they have more in common than a conservative.
Yeah. Okay.
Am I wrong on that?
Oh no, I
Okay.
completely agree with you.
All
Yeah.
right, just checking.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Thanks for checking. So, yeah, we covered it, but make this stuff on right. In a recent KCPW article, you emphasize that this was about, God, I can't even remember which one. In a recent KCPW article, you emphasize that officers in a given sector are expected to emphasize maintaining positive relationships with young people. Why is this important? And how are your department's relationships with young people in the community?
They've been very good.
Do you ever hold forums where you invite young people to air any grievances?
We did, well, yes, we do actually.
Would you let me- would you
Latinos
let
in
me-
action.
just Latinos?
Latinos no, that was actually a specific group
Mhm.
that had concerns that wanted to speak to us. Any group. And obviously, we use our school resource officer initiatives that when we have problems at the schools or any issues and they want to create a forum, we often participate in those. Absolutely. In fact, one of the programs that I failed to mention
We're really
was
tough
our
on time.
Explorer program, which actually reaches out to young people and tries to get them
Right.
to have a better understanding of law enforcement. I think that answers your question.
Okay, okay, that's fine. I really want to.
Okay.
I don't want to cut you off, but we got to.
Go ahead.
We
We have
got to
5
be.
minutes.
I like your bright line.
Thank you.
Would you be willing to engage in a forum with a group of concerned youth that are concerned about police reform and myself?
Absolutely.
You
Well,
would?
I guess I'm happy to meet with
Concerned youth
with the
from
youth.
the community.
Absolutely. Depends on what the forum is.
Okay, what forum would you like it to be?
So I think it should be a public forum.
Sure,
We create
absolutely.
a public forum and have a moderator so that
Yeah.
so that the
Perfect.
questions
Yeah.
are actually.
I wasn't even intending on
okay.
on being on the panel. I was just.
So,
I would.
I'm
wanna-
just saying, would love to have one, but I
Yeah.
think if you're involved, I think we need a moderator so we can stay on.
Yeah,
task.
no, and I'm not. I wouldn't. I'm not
Okay.
even
Okay.
presenting myself as the moderator or the
Okay.
operator.
All right.
I would just want.
I just want to make sure that it's productive, especially with young people.
Oh, you're saying young people because they run or something?
No,
like
I
young
don't.
people.
Please don't put words in my mouth.
You make these comments.
No,
I have
no,
to pick up on them.
Let's
Okay, move
forward.
on. In a recent exchange with me, relative to this meeting, which ends in a few minutes, you indicated that you are involved with Utah Summit County DCFS. how would you describe your relationship with this agency and their staff? I have one of my platforms, just to put this in a political perspective, is the safety and well-being of youth in our community as it relates to drugs, as it relates to how we interact as a city council. One of the reporters asked me, Jay Hammer, for example, said, why do you have education in your political platform? Well, I may only be running for city council, but I think it's imperative that the city, the police, obviously has relationships. You have a SRO deployed in the department, right?
Absolutely.
And children are safety of children is of particular interest to me, and I think that doesn't stop at the classroom door, right? So, in a recent exchange with me, how would you describe your relationship with Summit County DCFS?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah. I mean, we're constantly working through issues, as we do with all organizations.
So overall net positive, or is there
It's
issues?
positive. No, I think it's positive. Okay. You know, our primary role is to make sure that the best interests of the children are always put first.
Sure it is. In your professional opinion, is DCFS doing an honorable job protecting children in Summit County?
I think that we always have room statewide to improve, and I've made that actually during I've served as the past president of the Utah Chiefs of Police Association. We addressed concerns where we felt that we needed more robust interaction from DCFS statewide, because they had a lot of defunding and they didn't have adequate resources to fulfill all the needs that are needed by Summit County. That is definitely an issue statewide and in Summit County.
So you're saying they could do better if they had more money?
I feel that. I feel that if they were able to evaluate and hire the resources they need and get the professionals they could, it would greatly enhance their service.
I'm going to refer to a newspaper article from October of 2020. Are you familiar with Ashley Morgan, former employee of DCFS in Park City, Summit County? She's a resident of Park City.
I don't know that I know Ashley. Do you guys know Ashley? I mean, these guys deal with them too.
In October of 2020, I have an article I'll share with you and my viewers, but Ashley Morgan, 33 of Park City, she was a former DCFS employee in Summit County, who you have had interaction with. I can send
Possibly.
you.
I do it through a lot of
I
people.
understand. I can send you the grammar
Hundreds.
records. Right.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Ashley Morgan?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, imagine that. Entered a no contest plea to tampering with a witness, a Class A misdemeanor, and to sell, offer, or furnish an alcoholic product to a minor, also a Class A misdemeanor, and schedule was sentenced for this past December. So, I'm going to restate that question. Do you feel there's issues within
I don't know
DCFS?
anything about that case.
You really don't?
I honestly do not.
Do you think a Park City police chief should know about that?
That probably should be shared with me, but it wasn't.
I'll share that with you.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. But I can tell you, as it comes to issues that I feel that we need more staffing and hire and pay those and hire and do the right type of hiring to fill those needs.
And I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I'm going to tell you that funding is not always the answer. Just giving you a platform. Funding is not always the answer. Training, accountability, responsibility, and good leadership are all components to a successful organization. Throwing money at a problem does not always make it go away.
Doesn't always make it go away, but you can definitely attract and retain better talent.
You termed in a recent interview, you termed the George Floyd incident as difficult. Can you briefly explain why you said that?
It was a horrific incident. Absolutely.
But what was difficult about it?
Well, what it's created throughout the country. I mean, did you take that out of context? Could you read the entire statement?
Sure.
Yeah, please read the entire statement, so I can give you an accurate answer. It was difficult, absolutely difficult. I mean, look at what's happened throughout our country.
Yeah.
We're still in the 117th Congress, and we still haven't come to resolution on either party on this issue. There's huge problems in that. I think.
You know what? In the interest of times, we have like 3 minutes left. I'm not going to pull this up.
Maybe out of time, but I'll give you 3 minutes.
You'll give me?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. In a June 2020 KCPW YouTube interview with yourself and Andy Bierman, Bierman was quoted as saying that systemic racism existed in Park City. Do you agree with this statement?
I think it is prevalent in many places. I think every
that's-
community. I
I'm
think every
asking about
community.
Park City.
I
We're
think
not
it's
talking
in-
about
I
the
think
rest of
it's
the
in
world.
every community.
Okay, so you do
you
believe
asked a
this-
question. I think it's in every community.
Okay, so
At
that
some
includes
level.
Park City.
At some level, yes,
So
it does.
you-
At some level.
Systemic racism exists in Park City. We'll go on record with that. What is the racial makeup of your department?
I'd have to pull the numbers.
How many African Americans do you employ?
We have 0. We've had 0 that have applied. I do have Pacific Islanders. I have Asians. I have Hispanics. Our makeup of.
But if you're
of the
heavily
agency-
Caucasian in your representation.
Yes,
80+%. I
Yeah,
believe it.
probably. I
Last,
think we have
last,
the- we have the exact
last
numbers.
survey I did was about 85%.
But we have had huge efforts to recruit officers.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Okay.
Can you please? We're getting to the last question here. PCPD has seen an unusually large number of officers leave the force in the recent past. Some after having been found guilty of departmental policy violations. Did you need me to expand on that? Are these specific policy violations, or you're aware?
I'm aware.
Okay. And those were with relative to me.
Okay. I assume that's what we're doing.
Right. But we're aware that about 9 charges were levied and sustained against 3 of your officers.
I'd have to look at the exact.
That is it. I promise you that
Okay,
it's
that's
okay.
fine.
But and
policy violations, no criminal
I
violations.
said policy violations. I didn't say
think
criminal
they're still-
violations. So anyway,
But this
let's-
case has not been adjudicated. Your case has not been adjudicated, so I don't know if this is appropriate.
let's move on then.
Okay.
So I
I
just
think
want
they're still pending criminal charges. Is that correct?
What's that?
I think they're still pending criminal charges, so I don't. know
I'd
if
have
this
to.
is
I'd have to
appropriate.
talk to my attorney.
Okay. All right.
So, I have a list. Jeremy Eaton, Catherine Andrew Lethem,
Catherine who, sorry,
Captain
slow down.
Andrew Lethem,
Okay.
Jaime Rodriguez,
Okay.
Sergeant Cameron Thor, SRO Trent Jarman, Katie Bossenmeyer, I think possibly Rollins and Russos. Are they still with you?
Rollins is with us in Russo. I don't know who
Roussos?
Russo? I don't even know who that is.
Okay. Could be wrong. It's an unusually large number of. Can you explain the factors that contributed to the mass exodus
So,
within your ranks?
Both Captain Latham, who served over 30 years and retired, and Trent Jarman had 23 years and he retired. The other two, who are the other one? Bossenmeyer. Finished her field training and moved to California.
She's still in Salt Lake.
Oh, was she in Salt Lake?
Got out of law enforcement.
Okay, completely out of law enforcement.
Incidentally, which I had a
don't
complaint.
know where. I think Rodriguez is in Salt Lake, employed by another agency. I know Sergeant Thor went to another agency in the Valley as well, and they're currently employed in law enforcement.
Okay. Final question. What is your proudest moment as Park City Police Department Chief?
Proudest moment as Park City Police Department. You know, I think the fact that our men and women are here by choice, that they have come here from other agencies from all over the state. They could be anywhere they wanted. They're highly educated. They're highly trained. They have chosen the profession to stay in law enforcement in Park City to serve this community. They are. I feel that we have a better staff than we've ever had. I feel that we have a higher level of accountability than we've ever had, and I think that makes me very proud.
What's your greatest regret as Park City Police Chief?
Greatest regret.
Serving in capacity as Chief.
It's been 13 years. Let me think. Probably a lot of the interactions with you.
With me?
Yeah, I think because it's very divisive.
I agree.
I think the approach that's been taken. I got to be honest. I've been serving for 32 years, and I've dealt with a lot of people, and I can't think of anybody I really can't, come to terms with that we have a peaceful resolution, and I'm frustrated that I feel that you and I have this turmoil because that's not who I am.
No, and I'm
a positive
right,
person.
and I know we're out of time, but I just want to tell you, I absolutely agree with you, and I think you would, if we look at back, some of this back and forth, and we're kind of both alpha, I think, guys, and we're used to asking the questions, right? Not getting interrogated, right? So I lead people. I don't take orders from people. And kind of probably the same way, other than the mayor, and I don't know how you feel about him. But I wish, and I told you this in emails in the past. There's no animosity between you. I have no animosity towards you.
Okay.
I feel that you. I don't want to make this about us, but I would love the opportunity at some point to settle whatever score we have. I respect. We have mutual friends that speak very highly of me. Unfortunately, the reality is, as an officer, as a chief, at some point when you get off the street, you become a politician. We all know that. You can, there's a political aspect to your job, right? And so when I call you, I can't call you to say, hey, wait, can you and I straighten this out? Because what happens is Tricia Lake and the city attorney gets involved. So I'm glad that we had this dialogue. I thank you for your openness in this dialogue. Again, I don't want to make this about you. As follow-up items, I would love very much the opportunity to sit down with you. I had hoped to sit down with you one-on-one because I feel that police often show up in numbers to intimidate. Your fault.
That is not the intent.
No, I understand. I'm not in the least bit intimidated. My 15-year-old wasn't intimidated by 80-year guys.
You know what?
We're a strong family.
I've had a great relationship with Jack. I spoke with him. Had great interaction with him.
Yeah, well, he might not agree with
Well, and that's okay. That's okay. But I was positive when I spoke.
Sure.
To him, so.
Yeah. No, he's a warrior.
Circumstance, but
He's a good kid. Okay, cool. Well, anyway, I think we've enough said. Thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks. Thank you for your time.
You want a clean copy of this?